We look gorgeous. Everything looks gorgeous.
On top of the gorgeous.
We're back at it. It's another hour.
So you need like an army of teenagers.
30 seconds, lane.
Friend, I'm telling you. But I'll tell you, apparently I can.
You don't need you just need a knife for the hot spice.
just
got a knife for the
very
chopping. Thank you. We shall do as instructed. Guys, just by the way, Chef is gonna wash her hands because she's doing thingy, so.
South Africa, and a very warm welcome to you. This is Afternoon Express and happy Africa Day. That is the mood we are carrying out throughout the show. Now, African pride is at its peak today as we celebrate Africa Day on this Afternoon Express Tuesday Masterclass. Now, before we get into our menu, we have to introduce our chefs of today. We've got our resident chef, Chef Tumi. She's our Miriam Makeba. Happy Africa Day, Mama.
Thank you, Mama. How are you? Thank you so much for allowing us to share this beautiful day with everyone.
Yeah, no, we are having such a good time celebrating all things Mzansi and all things Africa with chef and lecturer Akona Swazi. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you. And yourself?
Are you feeling the vibes?
I'm feeling the African vibes.
Now, you are hoping to win our hearts over today with a chicken and heart pap recipe. We're also going to be serving Biltong croquettes alongside South African favorite Oxtail. And then, of course, we're going to be delighting in Magwinya with boerewors and chakalaka. Chef Reuben is also going to be taking us back to his hometown of Franschhoek. Mina igama lami ngingupalisa tembe. Mashambe ni, and let's open up our rich African cuisine. Now, you know, in Africa, we sing, we dance,
yes,
and we eat. That is one way we celebrate who we are, njengabantu. But I have to find out more about you, Akhona. What brings you to our loft?
Food brings me to the loft, definitely. I love food and I love experimenting with different flavors. And it's so great that we are starting this off on, you know, the African heritage and what inspires us.
Very exciting stuff. Tumi, I loved what you did last week. Last week, you paved the way. You gave us a good foundation to build an incredible recipe. You said, let's get to know our chef.
Yes,
before any cooking happens.
Yes, Palisa, because we don't want guests in our homes that we don't have a background on, you know? True. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make sure, are you vetted enough to be in our studio? Can you really, you know, do exactly what you say you can? And I feel like she's bringing the juice. So tell us more about yourself, Akhona. How did you actually start this journey of becoming a chef?
Well, I started at a pretty young age, in high school when I did like home economics. So that was really like a great introduction to the industry. And then I went to university, did my degree, and then I was like, I actually want to give back this knowledge that I have. And then, you know, I worked a little bit in a couple of restaurants and I was like, actually, let me start venturing into teaching. And now I'm here.
Okay.
I know, we actually had one of your students last week, South Africa. I don't know if you remember, we had Imtiaz, he came through and he was like, I'm not really a chef just yet. I mean, Tumi was a very good friend of him, his own master, at your own very own cooking show, Taste Master.
Yes, Palesa. And I also want to proudly say that I'm also an alumni to the very same school that Chef is from. So it looks like we are representing here, you know, we are bringing the juice, we're making sure that everyone understands, Guti, as much as it is a passion, it is something that you need to, we study for, learn for. And I think the one thing that I've noticed is that the passion that you have didn't just start now, like you said, it started years ago. I mean, who influenced this journey of yours?
My mom pretty much started the whole thing off because, you know, when you're at home and your mom starts cooking, you're like, Mom, what are you making? Can I help? And then it starts, you know, biting off into, you know, you looking at this into a career, and then now you're at the Afternoon Express studio.
It's so interesting that you say that. In your words, Mom, what's on the menu? So what can we expect on today's masterclass?
So today we're doing chicken hearts, which is like a really, really great hearty meal. Great for, you know, even the weather that we have now. So it is like a really great dish. And also we're going to be making like Magwinya sliders, which is another South African favorite. And you can also, you know, do your own interpretation of the dish. And then we also have the oxtail with a creamy, smooth pap.
Ooh, girl, it seems as if you're ticking all of our South African favorites. But another favorite of mine has to just be the different ways in which we celebrate our heritage.
Yeah.
So my first question to you is, when you are repping the Swazi surname, what tribe, what culture, what heritage are you repping? And then how does that be translated into the dishes you're going to create?
Yeah. So obviously, you know, my influence is from my background, my mom, my grandparents, and then, you know, what you see in the world as far as, you know, what interests you, how do you want to, you know, make these different recipes a little bit more creative, modern. So as far as, you know, the different dishes that we're going to be making today, it's all obviously South African inspired with the twist of, you know, the today's kind of skill and finesse. Yeah.
I love that. And I think, Palisa, that celebrates exactly what Africa is about.
Yeah.
With us South Africans, we've got a saying, "Ubuntu, umuntu, umuntu ngabantu," and there's no better way to celebrate that than by plating up a dish for people. You know, even strangers are always welcome in our home. If I'm eating, the guest never leaves.
Come
if you're
join.
dishing up supper, everyone just stays and has supper.
Everyone gets a plate. You know, my mom used to just cook these big old pots of food because she's like, you never know who's going to stop by. So if I were to say my favorite South African chef, my favorite local chef has to be my mom. If I were to ask you, who's your favorite South African chef?
Favorite South African chef, definitely, hands down, would be Reuben. He's like a really cool chef, and also he is South African.
Yeah.
So I relate so much to his background and what inspires him, you know, when it comes to food.
That's so beautiful.
I love to throw forward, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone is always like, what is coming up? What can we expect as the show unfolds? In today's masterclass, we actually go back to Reuben Riffel's hometown of Franschhoek, right here in the Western Cape. So I want you, pay attention, take your notepad out, see where your favorite comes from, because we won't be serving that.
Great, great.
So Dumi, not only are we serving information, not only are we serving heritage, not only are we serving African flair and finesse, but we're serving up delicious, hearty meals.
Yes.
So what do you have first for us?
Well, we're starting with the hearts, like Akona said, and we're going into a couple of different ways to enjoy them and eat them. I mean, I'm an intlizio. I mean, what better way to start than the heart of the matter?
Yeah.
Ding, ding. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, the one thing I love about it is such an economical ingredient to use. Most people overlook it. Most people want to eat the livers and everything else, and they don't know how many nutrients are in the hearts as well. So it's a beautiful way to start this cook-along, and I'm excited just for the whole menu. Is tandela Magwinya. There's nothing I get excited to wake up to like Magwinya in the morning.
Yeah.
So I am excited to see exactly how we zhuzh that up today.
Well, Akona, kick us off. What do we need to create our very first dish?
So with our first dish, we definitely need the hearts, right? And we also need to clean them. So the best way to clean them, you basically just take out one, and then you cut it in half, like so, and then you just run it under cold running water, right? And then once you do that, you put it into a separate bowl, and then you can start with the marinade. And then the marinade is just your chutney, which is also another South African favorite. And then you also have your spice and your seasonings as well. And then just to top it up, you can use, you know, you can add in some vegetables, some peppers like we have over there, and also some onion and a little bit of greens on top.
Happy to play. I've got the greens on top.
Yeah.
Dumi, you have got the chakalaka in there as well. So I do believe, are we not going to be cooking now, or should we leave the cooking for coming up?
Let's leave it for later, Balis.
Okay. So if you had to think of just one dish that represents your heritage, what would that dish be? Remember to use that hashtag Afternoon Express in all of your comments. Now, organ meats are an African delicacy, and coming up, we're going to be learning how to best make the most out of our chicken hearts.
Our pharmacies are on the front line of healthcare. This is Pharmacy of the Week.
It's an absolute pleasure and privilege to be a part of the Stanger community.
I have a huge passion for people, and my staff are not my staff, they're my team, they're my family. Likewise, my customers. A large part of our community have felt the impact of COVID. When they walk in and they feel like they're appreciated because we know them by name and we greet them by name, and they come in and they disclose to us that they've lost either a mom or a dad or a brother or a cousin, we feel it too, because we're having to be part of their council team because this is their first stop.
Pharmacy of the Week, proudly brought to you by Adcock Ingram OTC, sponsors of Brave.
back to Afternoon Express on this Africa Day. Now, May is Africa Month, and all across the globe, people commemorate this day with different celebrations and events. Now, today, we've decided to get to the heart of the matter, Dumi, I feel you, girl, with a couple of recipes that we think will make you absolutely proud to be African. Now, we're kicking things off with a hearty chicken heart recipe with Chef Akona, who will be talking us through it. So, Chef, you've already told us what we needed.
Yeah.
So, again, just head over to afternoonexpress.co.za to get the full recipe list and details as to how you can create this for this winter warmer.
Yes, yes, it is such a delicious meal, and it's actually so easy to make that you can whip it up in within 30 minutes max, and then it's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Chef,
what?
I actually want to come closer. You know why?
Yeah.
Dumi, I already know where you're going with this. The chef was showing us how to accurately and quite thoroughly clean your chicken hearts. So you did show us a little bit before, but now you've got your water.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that. What do you think, Dums?
Not a problem. You guys can go into that, but I'm going to get started with my peppers here. So I've got peppers, garlic, and some onion and some oil. I'm just going to get started with the base for this because all of that is going to go into this beautiful little pan. So let's let you guys carry on with that, and I'll just get chopping.
Cool.
Love that.
Alrighty, so with this one, we basically just want to cut the hearts into half, right? And then you want to open it up and then just run it underwater. And that is just to get rid of that excess blood that you don't want into your sauce, and you put it away.
And I mean, almost immediately, I can see that excess blood that you're talking about just right there. So you just got to keep doing that, making sure that it's thoroughly cleaned out.
True.
What are some of the dangers? You know, when you're working with chicken, it is the most sensitive meat. And right now, we're working with a vital organ of a chicken.
Yes.
So what do we need to remember when preparing?
So when we, preparing anything chicken related, we always have to remember that there's something called salmonella, which is a food poisoning bacteria, and that could literally, get you sick. So we have to handle meat with care and always try to make sure that we wash our hands in between each dish. Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
It's all about being cleanly in the kitchen and within your own kitchen, ekaya. I know a lot of people are just like, oh, guys, we see you guys whipping up a storm. Don't worry, we are always making sure our hands are clean and the surfaces are clean, sanitized and hygienic.
Yeah.
Dumi, when it comes to the fresh vegetables, though, that have to go into this meal, can we play?
Yes, definitely, Palisa. The one thing I love about the Africanness of our recipes today is that it's giving a base on how you can, what you can use in there. However, we always say that you can add your own flavor in there. So we're doing red peppers here to add that additional little bit of sweetness to the dish. But you could use anything. I mean, I was thinking of morojo. You could even put morojo into this dish because it works very well. You could serve it with amadumbe as well. Keeping it very African still, but just getting all those flavors that we want from the hearts.
Essentially, that's what we're talking about here. Some South African proudly local vegetables, amadumbe, those sweet African potatoes that I love so, so much. I mean, I can just peel those open and just chow them all the time. Ekaya. Or alternatively, you can put in that spinach. Dumi, you call it morojo.
Morojo, mama, morojo.
Tell us it's spinach.
Spinach, morojo. I think there's so many different ways to call it, and I think morojo, people say no, there's morojo and then there's spinach. I've been corrected a couple of times, so I don't know, Chef, if you agree.
I would agree with Tumi because it also depends where you're from as far as South Africa goes, because you'll always have like different words for these, for these dishes.
Yeah, for these grand dishes. And whilst you continue on your side, I mean, Dumi, you were speaking about the fresh vegetables that you can add, that you can play with. You've got the red color down. I love to add green. I think I said this last week when Tiaz came through. I'm going to add some green. I've got some fresh chili here. I've got some spring onion, and I've got some parsley. So I'm just going to chop that up, and then I'm going to hand it over just for the end of that dish. You know, when the salt bake goes, this is what you can add, essentially. Just have fun with it.
Yes.
So let's keep going. Your pap is also done.
Yes. So the pap is done, and over here we've got the chicken hearts, and I quickly just want to give them a quick marinade. And with your marinade, you just want to add in some of that chutney. And it's a great, great, great South African brand that we almost, use and, we have in our pantries. And then you just give that a quick mix. And then because of the sweetness of the chutney and also some of the tartiness, it will balance out the vegetables as well, like your peppers and your onions as well.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And Dumi, on your side, I can see your pan is hot, girl.
Correct, Vanessa. It's nice and hot because what we want to do is we want to flash fry these onions. I'm going to go in there with the rest of the ingredients here. We're going to go in with our peppers, and then I'm going to go in with our garlic that I've just nicely chopped up here. And now that we're talking about our African heritage as people, it just makes me realize that, yes, we like inkizi or hearts here in South Africa, but I'm thinking you could incorporate it into any African dish. Like, for instance, jollof rice would be so nice with this, just put that into that dish. It would be so beautiful. beautiful. And just, put your own flavors and, color into it. It's all up to you. But Balasa, I'm going to saute this. You don't want it to be overcooked. You just want it to still maintain its crunchiness, but then still be nicely cooked. Chef, I don't know if you want to add those marinated parts into here.
So I'm just quickly seasoning these, just briefly. You don't want to season them fully because there's still going to be a lot more seasoning that we're going to add towards the end of the dish. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. And on my side, I'm handling my favorite ingredients, the chilies, keeping it hot as it's getting cold in South Africa. We were talking about different ways you can celebrate African cuisine and African food, which then leads me to ask you, Chef, what does Africa Day mean to you?
Africa Day means to me being with family, celebrating heritage, and, being proud of who you are and your background and, vibing with all of that, goodness, because we are African children and we want to embody that as well. So that's what Africa Day means to me.
I also think that it's so special, Dumi, that we've got so many different opportunities throughout the year to celebrate who we are.
Exactly, Palisa, and what better way to celebrate than with food, So I just want to touch on something, Chef. You mentioned we marinate the hearts.
Yes.
People most times don't understand when you're marinating the meat or whatever dish, you're trying to break down the enzymes and it actually helps it make it more tender. So I put in some hearts that we had already marinated beforehand. This helps with making it tender and actually helps it cook faster.
Yes, and also it intensifies the flavor and it also carries that beautiful flavor towards the end product. Yes. Yeah, you always want that.
All right, so this is obviously another way, another one of those dishes we need to make sure we cook fully.
Yes.
So we're going to let this cook down and then we're going to top it up onto that pap that we've got over there.
Yeah.
Okay. In fact, let me start garnishing the pap because I want some garnish in between the pap and on top of that delicious stew that Utumi is creating right there. Now, did your heart skip a beat? I'm trying with these hot pans.
Yes.
You know what? Did your heart skip a beat, Mzansi? Well, ours surely did. And if you want to get your heart beating happily, just head over to afternoonexpress.co.za to get your hands on this full recipe list and ingredients. Yummy. Chef, I'm not done here.
Yeah.
You still have more cooking. You've promised us oxtail, biltong.
And also we've got a surprise. We're making croquettes as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Let me plate that up, Palisa. And then I guess you're going to get into all these other recipes just now.
Love that. Now, if you think South African favorite meat, oxtail, couldn't get any better, well, we'll be serving you with an extra twist of beloved meat, a biltong croquettes. All this homey goodness when we return.
Clover cheese is for those who love life, where everything falls into place and melts away our cares, adding joy and stretching our imagination. Clover, for the love of cheese.
Made with love by Clover.
Welcome back. Now it is Africa Day and we're celebrating it with a bang of flavor. Oxtail is a much loved meat speciality, especially in South Africa. And so for our menu, our chefs have prepared a slow braised oxtail with the elite taste of Clover cheese in a scrumptious croquettes. Now you have promised Akhona to elevate our traditional favorites. And girl, you're doing exactly that. Tell us, what do we need to put this together?
All right, so with this one, we are making potato croquettes with a nice cheesy center. And also, it is like a great alternative to just making like dumplings or to making something quite heavy. This is like a really quick fix.
Love.
Right? So you need your mashed potatoes, a little bit of flour, some eggs, some milk, and also some chives there just to give it like a little bit of oomph of flavor.
All right, and I'm keeping it proudly South African again, Bali, because I'll be prepping the biltong that's going to go into this recipe. And then we're also going to grate in some of that cheese that you talked about, that elite flavor. So all I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to get started here. And you said are we drying it out? Are we frying the biltong? What exactly am I doing?
So we basically just want to soften the biltong.
Okay.
So we can also, you know, just add in a little bit of oil, not too much, because you don't want to make the croquettes too rich, because we still have the milk, we still have the eggs, and also that delicious cheese.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're using Clover cheese in this recipe just to be that binding agent of the croquettes, to me, is that eliteness that we promise every time. But another quick, interesting fact is that oxtail is usually served with dumplings. But thanks to Clover, our croquettes have that elite taste that will just change it and make it even more elite, even more decadent.
Exactly, Balis, and that's why I've decided today we're going to go with the Clover tasses. The different kinds of flavors that Clover does is that you've got the Gouda, you've got the tasses, you've got the cheddar. So depending on how sharp you want your cheese to be or how mellow you want it to be, the one thing you can always know is that it's 100% milk product. So you don't have to worry about what goes into there. So all I'm going to do today is I'm going to grate up this cheese. It's going to go into the center of our croquettes with the flavors of the biltong and the flavors of the spring onion and chives that you've got over there. I actually cannot wait to start indulging in these dishes already.
This is very interesting as well, Akona, because not only are we enjoying good biltong, which is easy to snack on, but as South Africans, we love ourselves some oxtail too. So when it comes to putting together a good oxtail, that is a labor of love.
Yeah.
Talk to me through that process. How long does it normally take for those of us who don't have pressure cookers?
So if you don't have a pressure cooker, it will take about maybe 2 hours on a really slow heat to break down those connective tissues on the meat and also to soften the meat on the bone. And you get this juicy, you know, end product that is so hearty and so warm and, very importantly, South African.
I love that. And I love a fall-off-the-bone oxtail. So if you're going to have a fall-off-the-bone oxtail, you need that starch. You need something to also hold those flavors, hold those different juices and the sauces that come from that too. And then that's also where the croquettes come along. Now, for those who might think this might be a little overwhelming, biltong cheese croquettes with some oxtail. Dumi, talk to me.
No, Palisa, we're talking about flavor. And the one thing I love about South African flavors is you can pack them into the same dish and they all just worked well together. You get the nice saltiness of that biltong. You get the nice mellowness of that Clover cheese in there. You've got that nice, beautiful flavor of the spring onion. If you put it all together, it just works beautifully. And that's what I love. You know, we come together as a people, and so should our dishes.
That's essentially what, for me, Africa Day means. We are celebrating Africa Day, and we're celebrating here in the kitchen with our Tuesday masterclass. But if you can see just all around studio in our kitchen, we have got artworks with that beautiful African figure being celebrated time and time again. We've got some beautiful statues here. Not only that, we also decided within our fashion, we decided to jazz it up and Africanize it. Is that a word?
It is. I think we're making it a word today. I think we're definitely making it a word today.
It's approved. So what I'm doing now is that biltong that we've just toasted up right now, I'm not going to put it in whole. I'm actually just going to chop it up so that it works into those croquettes, because what you want is you want to have a bite of everything in a single bite, right? So I'm going to chop it out into nice small pieces, and then once I've done that, we're going to put it all together and then start frying up our croquettes and make these beautiful golden. I love how you actually zhuzhed changed it up, because who would have thunk croquettes and oxtail, you know?
Yes, yes, it is a very good pairing where you've got this hearty meal and you also have this crunchy, texture of, your croquettes.
Now, going down to that recipe, you have now incorporated the flour within the potato. You've got your cheese in there. We believe we use the tassas today.
Correct.
And then when it comes to adding the other elements, can you talk me through that?
So the other elements would now be just the seasoning that you would add towards the end, because you still have that raw egg in the mix. So whenever you have, an egg in the recipe, always include seasoning, because you don't want a, very eggy dish without any seasoning at all. Thank you, Toby.
All right, Chef. So now that you've done that, do you want to just show us how you shape these croquettes?
Yes.
Because we've got some that we've made a little bit earlier here, which have been shaped into nice long logs. Is a croquette determined by the size or determined by the shape, or is it literally just something that's fried?
So I'd say it depends on you, how big you want to make your croquettes. But I always say, if you've never made croquettes before, always start small, because it could, come up. Yes, literally come apart as it's frying off. And you always want to make sure that your heat is on a nice, low, moderate heat.
I love that. Awesome. And did we just go with the traditional kind of crumbs here, just for that coating?
Yes. It's simple. We've got flour, we've got some eggs, and we've got some breadcrumbs. So, Chef, do you want to just show us again how exactly we're going to shape these?
So basically...
Let me get some as well.
Alrighty.
We're going to get busy with you.
Let's do this together. Okay, so with these croquettes, you just want to take maybe about 20, 30 grams.
Okay.
You don't want it too big, otherwise it's going to fall apart in your deep fryer. And you just want to roll them up into a nice oblong shape or into a log, and then you'll basically coat them in your flour first.
Okay.
Right, and then once you're done, and you want to do all of them all at the same time, rather than doing one by one, because your hands are going to definitely get dirty.
Okay.
Right, roll them in your flour, and then you're going to crack an egg into a bowl, whisk it up with a little bit of milk, coat that, and then into your breadcrumbs, and then goes into your fryer.
Well, whilst we're putting on those finishing touches, making sure our croquettes come out perfect every time. Now, that's elite taste. To get the recipe, head over to afternoonexpress.co.za.
Clover cheese is for those who love life, where everything falls into place and melts away our cares, adding joy and stretching our imagination. Clover, for the love of cheese.
Made with love by Clover.
If I was allowed to, I'd be licking my fingers because that looks absolutely delectable. But Chef, what can we expect when we return?
So next time we are going to be doing our beautiful oxtail dish, and then we are going to finish it off with an amazing croquette mix, and we're going to, serve it up and have like a really, really nice feasty meal.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Another thing that I'm looking forward to, we are bringing the flavors of Ichisa Nyama to the Afternoon Express kitchen. So we're going to be making a Magwinya with boerewors and that chakalaka. Welcome back on this Africa Day. Now, we have truly risen to the occasion in celebration of Africa Day and have already blessed you with 2 delicious recipes, which brings us to our final recipe of the day. What do you think of when I say Magwinya, boerewors, and chakalaka? I mean, pure joy, I'd say. And that's why we're combining them into one dish and include them in today's menu. Chef Akona, what do we need?
So basically for this recipe, super quick and easy, flour, a little bit of butter, yeast, which is your raising agent, a little bit of water to, help develop that gluten, that stretchy consistency, and just your salt and pepper.
Beautiful. Dumi, your side, you're coming through with the meat.
Yes, Palesa, you know, Musa keeps it meaty up in this kitchen. So to keep it proudly South African on this African month, we're going to be using boerewors, Yeah. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to chop it up into smaller pieces, fry it up with some onion, like a nice, delicious reddish, and that's going to go inside of our sliders. But knowing me, because I'm such a typical Kasi girl, I prefer to just have the chakalaka there, the wors there, and just dunk it and put it into my mouth.
I'm telling you, there's something about eating with your hands that just brings me talk about pure joy.
Yes.
Now, if we do think of Magwinya, so many people enjoy Magwinya in so many different ways. And I love the fact, Dumi, that you brought up that even maybe in Nigeria or maybe in Ghana, they also enjoy Igwinya, but they call it something different.
Yes.
So if you want to just break that down for us.
Well, Palesa, the French call it a beignet. In essence, when I did the research, I found out that all of this is, in essence, the same thing.
Yep.
We just call it different things, In France, in the French, they call it a beignet. The Nigerians call it a puff-puff.
Yes.
The USA, those American cops that always have something, they call it donuts. So we have, the beautiful thing about food is that we call it different things in all our different nations, but it brings us together so much that we always just want to put our own trademark on it, which is why we all have different names for it.
I love that. And one of the ways we're keeping it proudly South African here is we're adding in that chakalaka. Now, if you do not know what chakalaka, where have you been? Welcome to Mzansi. Essentially, it is just that mixture of carrot, peppers, onion with a whole lot of flavor packed in it. And, you can almost enjoy it with anything. Enjoy it for breakfast, lunch, supper. But today, it is adding in and elevating that flavor of Igwinya and that boerewors.
Yes, Palesa. And now that we're talking about it, recently we also made a makota. Now you're making me feel like maybe we could actually even make a kota and a chakalaka in there with the wors. Like you could do anything with these recipes. They're so simple. You just zhuzh it up however you like.
Beautiful. Chef, your side, how's it going there? I can see that consistency you were talking about.
So basically right now I'm just kneading everything and then I'm just going to make sure that everything is well incorporated. But like we've got obviously our ready-made batch over here. But just to show the viewers at home that when you actually want to work the dough, you want to, use your arm work. Today is going to be arm day. It's almost like we're going back to the gym. All right, and you mix everything in, and then you're going to start proofing this. Proofing it basically allows your dough to double in size, and then you can start shaping it and frying it off.
Gorgeous. It seems as if this is so simple, so easy, but I'll have to find out then. If it is so simple, so quick, and so easy, what then do people get wrong when making Magwinya?
Ooh, sometimes the dough could be too wet, sometimes the dough could be too dry. Maybe they even forgot the most crucial ingredient, which is the yeast. Sometimes that happens, right? And then your dough doesn't rise and it becomes too dense. But sometimes just follow the recipe, super easy. And then you follow the instructions. You're going to get yourself beautiful Magwinyas.
Every single time. That's what we want, perfection. And that's what I work towards. Nothing but perfection. And speaking of which, it almost seems like you cannot get anything wrong when creating a boerewors.
No, Palesa, I think the one thing I've loved about South Africa is there was even a challenge at some point about people coming up with their own boerewors recipe. It's all about taking whatever flavors you like, putting it into that sausage, and then serving it. I mean, I cannot imagine a braai without a boerewors. I cannot imagine a sausage roll. What is it? Is a puri roll?
Yeah. It's in the name. It's in the name.
Palesa, so all I'm doing here is I'm just going to fry up our boerewors, get it nice and golden brown, and then just make sure it's cooked through, and we're basically just serving all of this deliciousness inside of this beautiful Gwenya slider.
Okay. So it seems as if here we are celebrating a little bit of American flavor and flair as well, even though it is Africa Month, because I understand sliders to be something from America. Those mini burgers, something that can just fit into your mouth, bite-sized, but packs that flavor punch.
Yeah.
And what works better than your Gwenya, Palesa? Because they're always so miniature and so little, so you can fit anything into there. But Chef, you've been kneading there. Do you want to just show us how to actually shape the Magwinya and what we need to do to fry them up?
All right, so once you're done kneading your dough, right, you basically will have this one that we've done already, and then you just want to shape them into small balls, right? You don't want them to be too big, because then it's going to all puff up into your, your oil. So you just want to shape them nicely, right? And you can also use your hands or use a board, and you want to create, uniform shapes and sizes so that they all cook at the same time. And you basically just also be very careful, because you're using hot oil. Just want to put it into a deep spoon and basically allow it to fry off.
This is when the kids have to go back into the living room, continue with the homework, because it could get dangerous working with that hot oil. To make sure that everyone is safe in the kitchen. We don't want any incidents and accidents.
Yeah. Exactly, Palasa. And especially when it comes to making a magwinya, because you want your oil to be hot enough. If it's too hot, it's going to burn the outside and not cook the center. If it is not hot enough, instead of cooking the outside, the magwinya is just going to absorb all the oil, which defeats the purpose, because you just want a nice crunchy outside and a nice cooked up, warm center, So we're just going to make sure ours cook up nicely. We want them to get nice and golden brown. And then all I'm doing here is we're going to serve it all up with our chakalaka.
So good.
I'm actually just going to make a base of the chakalaka for now and then finish plating up this beautiful dish.
So at the bottom of that plating, you have that level and layer of chakalaka. And then the same magwinya that Chef is being deep frying right now. We'll take those out when they're ready. Chef, how long do you think this would take?
They should take about 10 minutes, and you have to continuously rotate them so that the top side and the bottom side, they get evenly cooked. And you also want to make sure that the center is just as cooked as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Tumi, it seems as if our masterclass is done. And that was definitely an African menu well worth celebrating. Now it's time for us to dine. Africa Month is about celebrating our beautiful home. So coming up, renowned chef Reuben is taking us back to his roots in Franschhoek. a story of humble beginnings, and no one encapsulates that more than critically acclaimed chef Reuben. Our next leg of the Olive Pride Chef Tour takes us to Franschhoek in the Western Cape, which is not only where Reuben opened up his very first restaurant, but is also where his food journey begins in the most heartwarming and inspiring way.
Cook along with us on the Clover Olive Pride Chef's Tour, a proudly South African cooking journey through the towns and dishes that made foodie heroes, such as the champion of traditional African cuisine, Luyanda Mafanya, master of fine dining, Chef Reuben, and proud flag bearer of National Braai Day, Jan Braai. Made with Olive Pride. Prepare to be proud.
This week on the Olive Pride Chef's Tour, we take in Franschhoek, food, wine and art dynamo of the Western Cape. And not only home to Chef Reuben award-winning restaurant, but also where his food journey began.
This is Oak Street, the street where I grew up in. I was born just down the road there, where my grandmother lives, in her bedroom. So yeah, this is a street where we played rugby, cricket, all sorts of games. And back then, the road wasn't even tarred, it was all gravel. So this is actually the house I grew up in. It looks a little bit different now. Back then it used to have a big tree on the outside shading the house. And yeah, it was me, my brother, and my mum and my dad. Hello, Roddy. I was quite lucky as a child. On this plot, we used to have lots of fruit trees and vegetables, and my dad even had some chickens. So we really, we kind of like lived off the land here. My mum loved cooking, and later on, she also worked in a restaurant. And she used to bring back like really beautiful, tasty food. And I think that's how my love for food started. The restaurant where my mum worked at, incidentally, was also the restaurant where I got my first job. And that's where my food journey started. So nowadays, it's converted back into a home. But back then, it was a beautiful restaurant. It still has the plaque on there to show that it used to be a restaurant. I started as a waiter, not a great one at that. And luckily I had the opportunity to go work in the kitchen. And that's where I learned all these beautiful new flavors and tastes. And basically how I fell in love with chefing. Today, the restaurant is actually just across the road at the wine tasting next to the river on a beautiful deck on that side. But this is where it all began, and I learned so much from the different chefs that worked here. And many years have gone by, but I'm still in Franschhoek, and I even opened my first restaurant here. For me, it's quite special to have my own restaurant in the town where I grew up in. And Franschhoek is known as the food capital of South Africa. And for me, it's really an honor to practice my craft here. The food we create here at Reuben's is really inspired by not only my upbringing, the traditions that I grew up with, the cooking of my mum and my grandmother, but also from my travels over the years. So it's a bit of a fusion of, I would say, two different worlds. But yeah, we keep it all fresh, and we're lucky to be able to only use local ingredients. Food, obviously, for me is my life. It's also my livelihood, but food is the way how I express myself. And food is also the way how I stay connected with my past, with my family, with my traditions. Even up to today, I enjoy that food brings people together. In the restaurant, it's for me great to be able to see happy people. I always say to the young chefs especially, if you treat cooking and food well and you want to treat people, that's how you show that you care for them. So food's got the ability to make people happy, and that's what I love the most. Being on on this food journey with Olive Pride has inspired me to go back to my childhood and to cook one of my mom's favorite dishes. But I'm gonna give it a modern twist.
Join Chef Reuben again next week as he takes his mom's seafood curry from homely favorites to a 5-star roasted hake and calamari with harissa honey and lemon cream. Cook along with Reuben at the next stop on our Olive Pride Chef's Tour.
Delicious. It loves to touch base with Reuben every time he comes through. Now, as part of our Olive Pride Chef's Tour, we're giving our viewers a chance to win a premium weekly prize. And we have our next winner. So without any further ado, congratulations goes out to Chiveao Manena. You have won yourself a state-of-the-art gas Weber braai. Now, we trust that this beauty will turn you into a master chef at home too. And don't forget, you still can stand a chance to win a weekly Weber braai and be entered into the grand prize draw to win a kitchen makeover worth 150,000 Rand. For details on how you can enter, you can buy Olive Pride in store and follow those instructions in the free recipe book. Good luck.
Join Olive Pride Chef's Tour and travel the country as we cook along with Luyanda Mafanya, Reuben Riffel and Jan Braai every Tuesday on Afternoon Express. Win 1 of 10 cooking appliances weekly or a grand prize of a kitchen makeover worth 150,000 Rand. To enter, buy any Olive Pride pack and dial star 120 star 2462 star with your unique code to enter. Prepared to be proud.
We're around our dining room table with our resident chef Dumi and our guest chef Akona Swazi. Now, what I love about Akhona is that she has taken South African favorites as we are celebrating Africa Day, and you've elevated it, added your own twist. So can you just tell us what was on the menu?
So today on the menu we had these beautiful chicken hearts. They're, marinated in a little bit of chutney, and also we tossed up some peppers and onions, and then it's served on a bed of pap. Right, and then the next dish, it is our boerewors sliders on a Magwinya, right? So instead of making donuts or beignets, we wanted to take it back home and we served it up on Magwinyas. And also it's served with the side of chakalaka as well, which is another South African favorite. And then the last dish over here, it is the oxtail. I see you. It is the oxtail and also our beautiful croquettes.
Udumi hasn't started. She hasn't stopped. So I'm just going to get run in as well. I'm going to start with the chicken hearts. I love myself some chicken hearts and giblets. I mean, it just reminds me of growing up at home. And when it comes to thinking about what makes this truly special for you, not only as an African, but being able to celebrate it with food.
Yeah. Definitely, and also with family, being able to connect and talk about, how long your day was or how great your day was, and just, trying to relax with family and connecting through food.
Definitely, Palisa. And one thing I can definitely say here is this oxtail tastes amazing. It is fall off the bone, Palisa, those flavors that are in there. And I'm going into those croquettes that we made a little earlier. I'm seeing the biltong in there, that beautiful brown from the biltong. I'm seeing the cheese that we got in there. One bite.
Heavenly.
I'm sold. I'm sold. It is divine. The flavor of the biltong works so well with the flavor of the oxtail itself, actually. Beautiful.
And it's my turn with the chicken hearts. I mean, we've been coming through with the heart puns throughout the show, so hopefully this makes its way to my heart.
While she does that, can I ask you to pass me some of those hearts as well?
Alrighty.
This is delicious. You know, Chef, I love the fact here that you added in chutney. I can taste it. The fact that we marinated that the hearts in the chutney made all the difference. I thought it was going to be super spicy, super hot, not at all. The sweetness of that chutney definitely balances those flavors.
Yeah. So you want that contrast, you want that sweet and that spicy, because, I mean, you don't want to eat anything bland, right? So you want that pop of flavor in your mouth, and I think this is what we got.
Definitely, Vanessa. And I love the fact that we've got the chutney there, we've got the biltong there, you've got the salty sweet. Even on a plate, it all works perfectly together.
Now, this is how we decided to celebrate our South African spirit and Africa Day. This is what was important to us, and this is what we had to have on our menu, which leads us to what I asked you on social media, which is how do you celebrate your own heritage or your own cultural flavor taste on social media? We've got Upriyona Naidu, who says, I love sheep brain and tongue braised with spices and onions. Mmm, yummy, yummy in my tummy. Hashtag Afternoon Express, hashtag Africa Day 2021. How delicious does that sound?
Balisa, it sounds amazing. And most people don't even know that you can eat brains and tongue. Actually makes me think of something called sweetbreads as well that would work so perfectly in these kind of recipes we have today. But Balisa, since we're talking about Africanness, it just makes me think of something. There's this poem that I love that celebrates us as Africans, and I'm going to take just an excerpt from it. I'm going to go into my inner self here and go deep into the roots. I am an African. I owe my being to the hills and the valleys, the mountains and the glades, the rivers, the deserts, the trees, the flowers, the seas and the ever-changing seasons that define our face of the native land. My body has frozen in the frosts and in the latter-day snows. It has thawed in the warmth of our sunshine and melted in the heat of the midday sun. The crack and the rumble of the summer thunders lashed by startling lightning have been a cause of both trembling and of hope. The fragrances of nature have been as pleasant to us as the sight of the wild blooms of the citizens of the veldt. I am an African, Balisa.
That was beautiful.
How moving. Dumi, what you did here to me, it just shows how we are able to celebrate. I mean, we spoke about celebrating with art, we spoke about celebrating with food, with fashion, and now we see ourselves celebrating being African through the written word. I think that those words, by, if I'm not mistaken, Ubab Thabo Mbeki, he definitely wrote and put his all into each and every word. So emotive, making me so proud to be African. Hearing a piece like that, what does that bring to you? What does that do to your heart?
It touches my heart, obviously, because it's written by a South African. It's written by someone who's gone through the struggle. And in some ways, you can also envision the passion that they had, which you will relate to, because you're also African and you're also quite passionate. So it is heartwarming to hear something so beautiful being recited, and you did it so well.
Thank you very much. I had to follow in very, very, very hectic footsteps there, so I'm glad I was able to deliver the message of love. And because that's what Africanness is about, love, ubuntu, utando, you know?
I'm just going to come in here with, as we're talking about ubuntu, notando, and love. I love Magwinya, and I do love this boerewors. I'm going to try have this all in my mouth. If I fail here, I do not want to be trending for the wrong reason.
That looks delicious.
Girl, let me tell you something. Me, like I do run away from carbs, but this is a carb I'm happy to enjoy and celebrate tonight. I love the fact that that doughiness that you spoke about, that bounce back that Igwinya Lako has to have. I'm experiencing it, I'm enjoying it. This is quite traditional ekasi in the townships. This is what you get.
Yeah. It's almost like a reinvented kasi, you know, version of a Magwinya, Akota, and all of these things. So now we just, you know, did it in a quick way, and it turned out perfectly.
Another thing that I love about Afternoon Express and the way we're able to connect and bond with our viewers is that we also stream online on YouTube. And girl, your people have come through for you. Please, may you give a huge shout out to all of your students who are watching right now. They are flooding your comments. Just give them a wave and a young kiss.
See you in class tomorrow.
See you in class tomorrow. And just like that, thank you so much for bringing your expertise on the loft. So happy Africa Day. Happy Africa Day, Dumi.
Happy Africa Day to you, beautiful ladies, and to the rest of our viewers.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to be continuing on the theme of all things Africa on our Thursday Afternoon Express Cook-Along and Masterclass, where we have Zim, raised, born and bred Tapiwa, who's going to be showing us some Zim flair. But from us here on Afternoon Express, we say good night, stay safe, and happy eating.
Bye.
Here's to family favorites and recipes passed from mothers to daughters. Made with love by Clover.
Another feel-good production.